Item D, the approval process for the community safety building boring, and there are two recommendations to pick from.
I'll move that council select the following approval method for the CSB boring bylaw, assent-free bylaw adoption.
Second.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. If I may, the first order of business would be to lift from the table, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, thank you.
All right, so we're going to lift it from the table, and I guess if you just want to...
I'll move that the item be lifted from the table.
Discussion, call a question, all in favor?
And then what I said previously.
Second.
Discussion, Councillor Browner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to support the motion that's on the floor. I feel that we have support in the community for a new community safety building, and I feel like we said loud and clear early on in this process that we would go ahead with the alternate approval process.
Any further discussion? Councillor Fallon.
I will agree with what Councillor Rachel said. I think we have to go to the alternate approval process. It is what we said we were going to do, and I feel that that is the right thing to do.
Further discussion? Councillor Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also going to vote against this motion. And, you know, there are several points. I agree that one of the important ones is that we previously told the community we would actually go the AAP route, but it's the largest borrowing authorization the town has ever done. And in the past, for smaller numbers, the town has gone the AAP route. And I do appreciate that delays involve increased costs. I do appreciate that there is the possibility of someone hijacking an AAP process with, you know, a massive campaign of misinformation. But at the core of it is this principle of that I believe very strongly in, about allowing the community to participate in significant decisions. And council has always done that in the past with large borrowing amounts. And, you know, democracy is messy sometimes, but to me this is a core value, and even though it may cost a little bit more because of the delay of going to AAP, I just cannot support doing anything other than AAP.
Councillor Chad.
I'm not siding up with the dissenters tonight. I feel we've been probably 12 years at this process. We have an engineer's report that we get a shaker. There will be no fire department. There will be no emergency services. We are, if people have been watching the scientific programs on the television lately, showing what's happening in the Ring of Fire, showing what's happening real close to us in the state of Washington, telling us that we have basically a new fault line just off the coast of Sidney. I am not going to be one of the ones that says that I'm not going to support security for the people in my community. I'm not going to be the one that says we're going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars extra overruns. So I will be supporting this.
Any other first-time speakers? Councillor Fowle.
Thank you. I appreciate what my colleague has just said, and this isn't about delaying something. This is about going through the appropriate process. And as I've said before, yes, we are on a fault line. Yes, this can happen at any time, but it's not like we have a specific date that we have to shoot for. So whether this is now or 6 months from now, I still think we have an obligation to our residents to do things in an appropriate process. It is a significant amount of money. It is, I think it's a moment to reflect and give people the opportunity. I attended the majority of the open house last week for the CSB, and I was underimpressed with the amount of people who came out to ask whatever questions they needed to or to see the project. But I also came away feeling that people weren't against what was going to happen. They weren't against building a community safety building. So I think taking the time to go to the alternate approval process is the right thing. And if we're not in the majority, so be it, but I will still vote that way. Thank you.
Councillor McLennan?
Yeah, I will be in favor of the scent-free, and this comes down to it's been years that we have been looking at getting this done, and we, as the community knows, we've been to this site and to that site and to this site, and it's just time and time and time, and emergency stuff is something we need. This isn't something that, hey, let's not do it. Let's not do this, and then everyone will cry when the building is lost in an earthquake. At the end of the day, I'm pretty confident that staff and everyone will get this into the budget areas that we were thinking. So assigning $10 million doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend $10 million. So I think it's just time to move this forward, and I don't see waiting another 6 months and adding another $10,000 to your tax bill makes a lot of sense.
Councillor Locker-Goody?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to staff, it's really a governance question. The alternate approval process, when was that last looked at by the provincial government?
Through the chair to Councillor Locker-Goody, the community charter has been in place for over 10 years. I'm not aware of any amendments to this particular section, so it's been 10 to 12 years at least.
Thank you for that. You know, under normal circumstances, I could support the alternate approval process, but the thing is that we've gone through this a couple of times. One was burying the hydro lines on Lochside, and two of you were on council at the time, and we went that route. The folks were able to get the 10% population, which is about 900 odd votes, in 30 days, and unfortunately it was all done for the wrong reason. So it was going to go to referendum. Well, I think we all in this room know the problems with referendum that are going on around the world, because unfortunately, again, misrepresentation of the facts seems to rule the ways, and people vote with their heart rather than perhaps their logic. So that's one of the reasons I want to push this. But if this goes through or doesn't go through, I would like to make another motion that because of social media has such a tremendous impact on the speed of things, of reaction of things, I think the actual process is dated. So I'd like to do something else on that one after the vote, Your Worship.
Thanks. Well, I've got a couple of comments too. And actually, I wrote a letter to our new community organization a couple of weeks ago because they encouraged us to do the AAP process. And in it, you know, I laid out various scenarios. And one is we do the AAP, the 900 votes are met, so then we go to a referendum. We go to a referendum, and like Councillor Locker-Goody has mentioned, things are different now with internet age, Twitter, Facebook, you know, the speed of emails. It's simple to get that many signatures, especially if you are going around the neighborhood spreading misinformation, which we have seen numerous times just this year. So, and I have no doubt whatsoever that the same groups will do it this time. So now we've gone to AAP, now we go to the referendum, we lose the referendum, so now we don't have the ability to look after our people. We cannot respond when we're needed in that next emergency, when it comes. And I have to respectfully disagree with Councillor Fallett that we don't know the date. You know, the date is coming, so the sooner we build this, the safer we are going to be. You do not put off decisions like this just to be politically correct and to try to, you know, impress people. Our job is to look after the residents of the town of Sidney. And the other point I put in my letter is we do the AAP, it fails. and we do the referendum, and then it passes. So next year, we start construction a year later. Now we have needlessly tacked on over $1 million to the cost of the fire hall, which everybody on this council fully supports. There's nobody here who is against the fire hall. Some are just against, doing the jobs they're elected to do and, make decisions. So I'm not prepared to gamble either way, with people's lives or with increased cost of millions of dollars for no particular reason other than optics, okay? I was elected to look after the residents of the town of Sidney, and I will be voting in favor of the motion. Any further discussion? Councillor Wainwright?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The arguments about delays and the safety risks, I can accept. Like, I understand where you're coming from. It's not a matter of political correctness, and I don't mind spending money on democracy. I mean, we already have a certain amount of controversy in the community about council's willingness to listen. And going the assent-free route basically confirms that we're not interested in giving the public any real say when it's a very significant decision, and we don't trust them to exercise common sense. And like I say, this isn't a matter of political correctness. This is a matter of, I believe in democracy. So if I get outvoted, I get outvoted. But I just don't buy those arguments. I do buy the, delays involve increasing risk of something happening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, like I mentioned, it's $1 million gamble at least, which I'm not prepared to take. And the other thing is, there has been no significant legitimate opposition to the fire hall from the general population. But there will be once certain groups get a chance to put more misleading information out there, and it's easy to get the 900 votes. So I am voting for the assent-free for a lot of reasons, to look after the residents of the town of Sidney, and also I'm not prepared to gamble millions of dollars in increased costs and increased taxes for the next 30 years to pay for it when we're going to build it anyways. Nobody at this table has any argument about building the fire hall. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.